Yes, bitch. Buckle up. Does everything happen for a reason? We hear it all the time. Everything happens for a reason. But does it? This is something that has perplexed me since I think I was maybe 16 years old. I have this little notebook thingy right here when I was like 16 or 17, and I wrote 2 quotes about these opposing truths. And these opposing truths that are somehow still both true in the spiritual world of information. You hear these 2 things. You hear, trust your destiny and everything happens for a reason, surrender to the divine plan. But you also hear, the world is your oyster, you are the artist and the world is your canvas. Manifestation, you create your own reality. I wrote that this is literally hurting my brain and I really want to know the answer. And still to this day, when I think about it, I kind of get paralyzed trying to conceive all that information through my limited human brain. This quote is from the movie Serendipity, and this is the obituary at the end of the movie. Life is not merely a series of meaningless accidents or coincidences, no, but rather, it's a tapestry of events that culminates in an exquisite, sublime plan. If we are to live life in harmony with the universe, we must all possess a powerful faith in what the ancients used to call fatum, what we currently refer to as destiny. And in contrast, I'm going to pull some text from this Earth Medicine book, Native American Astrology. What they call their astrological map is the medicine wheel. So the medicine wheel teaches that life is a process of change and development in the dimension of time. The future is largely fashioned in the present out of the fabric of the past. We each affect, and to a large extent determine, what we are going to become by what we do in the here and now. Our thinking and our actions, therefore, condition our future. It is not all mapped out for us in advance. We determine our direction from the choices we make. We are not robots to some ethereal computer. We are the programmers. We program our own computer of self. Press the right psychological buttons and you change your thinking. Change the thinking and you change the attitude to the way things are done. Change the things that are done and you change the future. So in light of destiny, we all hear stories all the time of people experiencing these things in their life that are completely out of their control, that just happen to them, that change the course of their life forever. You meet someone at a place that you weren't thinking of going to, and that person takes you on the next path of your career. Or you happen to walk into the grocery store at the exact perfect moment and you meet the person that's gonna bear your children. Or things that are extremely miraculous, like people having out-of-body experiences, dying and coming back to life and expressing that, God told me it wasn't my time yet. You hear these kind of stories all the time, and I'm sure all of us have even had these moments in our life that seem, whether they're for good or for bad, they seem like it was meant to be that happened. It was completely out of our control. Another example is how sometimes things don't work out the way that we wanted them to, and we can't understand quite in the moment, but later we look back and we see how it actually played out and we're like, oh my gosh, that was so much more meant to be because it led me here, which was exactly what I didn't even know that I needed or wanted, etc. If you've ever taken psychedelics, or even if you've ever just been in a really meditative state, really in tune with your spirit and everything around you, you've noticed the signs and the languages that the universe speaks to us in. Times that I've taken psychedelics, I will notice how I just feel completely surrendered and I'm just being moved by the flow of everything going on. If a problem comes up and I just surrender to needing to figure out life and figure out the problem, I watch how the perfect people are added into the storybook of the trip, and it the trip totally resolves itself and orchestrates itself in a way that is just magic. It's just pure magic, which makes me believe that things indeed are orchestrated to a higher plan. But at the same time, moment to moment, or maybe maybe it's just when you're not as in tune with the magic of your spirit and the magic of the universe constantly talking to you and giving you signs. Have you ever felt that way when, maybe this is also part of experiencing depression, is like life feeling neutral, and every day you're presented with like thousands of millions of micro choices of what you want to do throughout the day, and it genuinely feels like a choice. It doesn't feel like you're a puppet and everything is being orchestrated. It's like all the choices you make, from how you want to see the world to what time you leave your house, all those things that are like small, but they're actually big, because if you're thinking about fate and destiny, each little thing that we do should affect everything else, right? So it's like, can there really be a plan for every little thing in my life? For me, the struggle, the wonder, really, the wonder is, okay, if I completely have control over my future, and for the most part, I manifest what happens through my thoughts, through my actions and my beliefs and my perceptions. Are any of the things that happen meant to be, if it is up to me? How do I tell that the path I'm on is the best path, the right path for me? Maybe you're doing your best, you're doing what you think you should be doing, what you feel is right in your heart, and the universe is co-creating with you. So what is actually delivered is, yes, because you chose that, but because the universe is like, okay, I'm meeting you halfway. Which makes sense. We co-create with the higher powers of the universe. But still, did we not still choose that trajectory that we are on? Did we not choose these trajectories? So are they really meant to be? Like, maybe the inspiration for these things was already deep inside of us, and so we came to the realization that we wanted to be on this path. So that was meant to be all along. It seems like it was our choice, and it kind of was our choice because we ended up choosing it, but the universe planted those seeds within our soul before we even came into this body. But see, what would have happened if we would have chosen differently than the trajectory? If we chose a different trajectory, which could have been just as likely, would that have been meant to be simply because it played out? So if everything is just kind of meant to be because it's just what ends up happening, you could say, well, whatever ended up happening is what was meant to be. It's like, what's the meaning of it all? And sometimes that question makes me feel depressed, because sometimes life feels meaningless, because it all kind of feels like deciphering it or trying to find meaning in it can be depressing, which I'm kind of, in a weird way, I'm sort of glad to also feel this way, because I think I used to try to see how everything happens for a reason and used to just look for meaning in everything. When it kind of is just like, girl, like that's just you projecting your emotional desire for fulfillment. It's not that necessary to see everything that way, which can help you kind of like simply just choose to do what's best for you without esoterically trying to find a grand meaning in everything. Have you ever had that feeling of like, there's a bunch of different choices you can make about a situation, but you don't particularly feel super strongly about any of the choices that you could make? So you kind of just pick one and then you go and you're like, meh, you know? Like you choose to go to a party or something when you could have gone to this event, but none of them really felt like they were pulling you. And then when you're there, it's just kind of like, it feels neutral. Like it often feels like in life and every day, there's a bunch of different choices that we could make, and it doesn't really feel like they're all divinely inspired. But then again, it's like, okay, well, is the choice that I did end up making, like, was that always meant to be? And it's just an illusion that I thought it was my choice making that choice? Yes and no. Here's something I've written plainly in my notes about the questioning of these conundrums. Does anyone else think about how the delicacy of the butterfly effect and destiny can exist at the same time? How the small choice you make in a moment can affect someone across the world? And somehow, everything plays out how it is meant to be? These impulses we do without thinking, The universe must have pre-calculated every possible outcome, even something as subtle yet profound as us changing our thoughts, to ensure that no matter what happens, what's meant to happen will happen. Or maybe it's not always that necessary for precision. Maybe there's wiggle room for insignificant actions. There must be, because often I make a choice that feels like I could have just as easily chosen something else. Maybe no matter what we choose, God will find a way to weave that path in with our highest destiny. I've kind of come to this conclusion that there are things in life that are undeniably meant to be. Like when you feel them, you can viscerally almost feel God or the angels saying, yep, we knew that you were going to encounter that. We knew since before you even came onto earth that was going to happen. Those moments are very undeniable, and like it's a collective experience that we all undergo. And how that can also be woven in, like how all the choices that we make and all the different possibilities, all the choices that we make can be woven into that, is because of the multi-dimensional universe that we live in, and all of these timelines or parallel lives or like possibilities that exist. God must be so smart, so intelligent that no matter what we end up choosing, there's not really a right or wrong, right? Because choices kind of feel neutral at times, or like whatever you pick will be fine. I know we stress ourselves out with choosing the right thing to do, but if we kind of release that pressure of like what's the right thing and just trust that no matter what we pick, God is intelligent enough to weave whatever path we take, weave it into a projected plan that God and our higher self and our angels hope we end up aligning with. Like I do believe there is a highest destiny available for each of us, and on that trajectory, maybe that's not necessarily meant to be like if we don't pick that in this life, it's not like you messed up the whole divine plan of the universe. It's not as much as what's meant to be all the time as far as what physically like plays out. Because if you always try to look at life as like, oh, everything that's happening is meant to be, like sometimes life just feels neutral and tepid and like kind of emotionless and just kind of like freestyle. And if you try to look at everything as like, this is all meant to be, like, am I doing everything correctly? Then it's just kind of stressful and doesn't feel authentic. That's why it's like saying everything happens for a reason. It's like, it's not always accurate, you know, because maybe it's not exactly what plays out physically that's always meant to be, but it's like the lessons we learn and the energies that we receive and the energies that we put out, like the lessons we learn and the things we create, and the like the wisdom our soul gleans, those kinds of like energies are what it's meant to be. Like sometimes before something even takes place, I will feel about the energy of like what might happen and what I should do, and I can learn lessons from like my future self without actually having chosen that thing. And it's like, it feels like I could have gone through with meeting up with this person or going to this place or choosing this career path, but I have already merged with a lot of information of what that would have been like, and like collected that energetic foundation, if you will. And it's like somewhere inside me is like, okay, well, whoa, that's crazy, because I could have chosen that thing and I would have learned through going. But I also almost time traveled through this multi-dimensional universe, if you will, and collected the information, and now I can hop onto another part of my journey. And it just blows my mind how you can kind of like, almost like a video game or something, you can jump ahead levels, but at the same time, like if you didn't do that, it would have been fine going this way. I'm not trying to stand here in front of you and tell you I know exactly how it works, but at the end of the day, I believe somehow all of these realities can exist of all the different things that can happen, and God and our angels and our higher self will just continue to try to guide us onto the ones that will be most fulfilling for our greatest fulfillment, our greatest evolution, etc.
I feel like deja vu is a beautiful gift from our spirit or from the intelligence of this universe that confirms the feeling of being in alignment with a higher plan. So I know there's a lot of theories on deja vu, but intuitively to me, it feels like all of the timeline possibilities that exist, they have these merging points to keep you on track with your life path and what is quote unquote meant to be. Because these deja vu moments feel like these focal points where no matter what choices are made, no matter what timelines we choose, these little nucleus deja vu moments are moments that are calculated in with all those possibilities to ensure that we stay in alignment with our life path. And when you have these deja vu moments, it feels familiar. It feels comforting in a weird, strange way, because it's like this moment feels like it's already been written. It feels like it's already happened, and I'm just rediscovering it. And it's kind of like, oh my gosh, my future self has already experienced this, and now I'm just kind of catching up with it. And this moment feels like a soulmate, and it makes me feel comforted in knowing that there is a divine intelligence that weaves itself throughout time and space.
I would like to talk to God about this, please. What is meant to be in your definition, God? And honestly, would love to hear back from you guys on what you think about fate and free will, and how manifestation can also exist with like, well, this was predestined. Please feel free to share this video, to subscribe to my channel, to comment. I hope this video was graspable, and I hope to see you back on my channel really soon. I love you, and I hope you're well, and I hope that you are finding beautiful realizations about life that like click in your soul and like make you feel in harmony with being here.